Hi, this is Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith at the National Police Association, and this is the National Police Association podcast. I have with me today a guest who a good friend of mine said, you got to talk to this guy because he's doing some amazing work for law enforcement in this country. He's a busy guy. He's a dad. He's a business owner. And he's from my native Illinois. And he's doing something so extraordinary that I knew that you had to meet him. Dan Marquardt, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Betsy. It's an honor to be here.
So, Dan, you got 10 kids, you got a business, you're a really busy guy, but in 2021, you decided that you just really didn't need to sleep anymore. And you thought you'd start your own nonprofit. And as a guy who appreciates law enforcement, as a man of faith, in 2021, you started an organization called We Love the Police. We Love Police. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was really something that I was called to start. And back in the Trayvon Martin era, we actually I was so burdened by what police in America were dealing with and the demonization and all the hardships and the lack of support and the media skew. And I just said, we got to do something. So we actually hosted back then, we hosted an event. We just said a thank you police event. We had about 350 officers and spouses here at my business. And we had a motivational speaker who everyone knew at the time. And it was just a great event. And I had so many moving comments from officers about that event. So I just said, wow, we got to do this again. And then with the busyness of life, it went on the shelf. And anyhow, We Love Police really, as I said, was a calling and something that I had this vision, wanted to see it become reality. And with the busyness of life, it went on the shelf. And then fast forward to 2021 and everything that was happening with the defund police and all the riots and all of the craziness. And I just said, I was just so convicted. And I just literally said, I prayed and I said, Lord, I don't want to be like Jonah. If you've called me to this, I don't want to run the other way. And I want to be faithful. You'll provide the resources and the time and the vision and to make this a reality. So, and he has, and I'm super grateful for that. So yeah, in 2021, we became a 501c3 and it's been a long journey of patience, but just last month, we actually launched our social media campaign nationwide, or I should say actually back in April. And but the core of our organization is uplifting police and spotlighting their good. Two things that, as you know very well, are desperately needed in America.
So let's talk about that because in 2021, in the Chicago metropolitan area, the police were not very popular. And you own a business, you're a car dealer. And back then, that's when businesses were posting the black square on their social media and talking about how bad the police were, and everything was just going woke and going crazy anti-police and frankly anti-American.
Yes.
And and you decided to really swim upstream with all of that, marrying your mission with your Christian faith. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, and when God calls you to do something, it's always best to be faithful. You don't want to run the other way, and you know it's heartbreaking to see what our police officers and their families have endured. And so yeah, at the end of the day, we should, and as Christians, walk by faith and not by sight. And that's easier said than done. But the reality is, I was compelled to do this, and so even we operate out of my dealership, out of my business, and so I had a lot of warnings from a lot of police officer friends about some of the hostiles we'll say, and having our address published, and could expect protesters and other things out here. But we've got a great relationship with our local police department, and they really love and appreciate us, and the feeling's mutual. Um, and thankfully, we have not endured that. But we do know, just as police see every day in America, everything in this world is a battle of good versus evil. It just truly is. And so, I love a line from an officer who said, when evil wins, when good does nothing at all. And so we want to be a vessel to spotlight the countless good of our police officers in America every day. And sadly, most of it gets untold, or if it is told, it's in a very, very small bubble. So yeah, I'm very excited about all of the facets, and throughout that journey over the last few years, how we've refined our vision and our mission, and for a greater impact. I'm super excited to see it all unfold, and the impact that it makes to be a blessing to officers and their families.
So let's talk about the different facets of what you're doing, starting with your original vision, which was just to have a nice banquet and a speaker, an event for
Mhm.
cops to go to, just to be appreciated and uplifted, and also something they could bring their families to.
Absolutely. Well, that we realized was phenomenal. I was so humbled, and frankly tearful, when at the comments that officers and spouses of officers made to me during that event, after that event. The letters that I received in the mail were so touching, and I had several officers tell me that they were thinking about hanging up their hat, and that event put enough wind in their sails to inspire them and encourage them to keep moving forward. So it was just a really tangible way where officers, you could see what a blessing it was to them. And so yeah, that will continue to be a facet of what we do. We look forward to eventually, obviously it's based on resources, but we would love to host regional banquets, even get to a point of doing one a month around the country, where we have a motivational speaker, and an officer, spouse, and or guest, and they come, have a nice dinner, open bar, motivational speaker, and then recognition awards for our We Love Police honorees for different acts of heroism, or nominations from different officers around the country in that region. So we look forward to doing that. But that then branched into understanding the needs of what officers shoulder every day. I mean, what they see, what they process. You can't unsee what you see, and I know they all know that. And so I was stunned when we did market research and found that roughly our data showed over 1/3 of officers around the country did not have access to a chaplain at their police department. I've talked to others in national leadership roles, and they've shared with me they think it's closer to 50%. And whatever that number is, whether it's 33% or 50%, a significant percentage do not have access to a chaplain. But what was really disturbing from our market research, 2/3 of the officers that had access to a chaplain had low trust to no trust of their department chaplain. And there were a whole litany of reasons, all of them valid. And so we worked with an organization and it was right in that COVID window and it worked out beautifully, because they were looking for a way to provide more accessible, confidential chaplain access. And when I shared with their CFO where our vision was for We Love Police, they're like, "We love it. Let's develop this together." So we've created a portal to offer, and we offer it on our website, mobile or web or PC based, 24/7 nationwide access to real human beings, to chaplains, specially trained chaplains, for not just police officers, but their families, so spouses. So, and that was another thing that stunned us from our market research. 97, so of the small percentage of officers that had trust of a chaplain, first off, that had access to a chaplain, that trusted their chaplain, of those that used it, 97% said their spouse had never been uplifted or ministered to by their department chaplain. And I just feel that's a huge travesty. So we wanted to provide a resource where not just the officers, but their family members, whenever they have a burden, whether it's marital strife, emotional toil, whatever that is they're dealing with, or if they just need prayer, if they just need support, if they need to just talk something through, that access is there for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and what however they want on their own terms. So they can access the chaplain by instant messaging if they don't want to talk. They can call. They can even schedule a video chat with the chaplain. And if it's a crisis situation, our chaplain organization, our partner, actually has chaplains on the ground in almost every major metro market in America. So even if it's a one-on-one meet, they can do that too. So that's a huge need that's out there right now, and I'm super excited for it to be utilized a whole lot more. But officers and their family need to know that this is available to them.
Well, absolutely. Just knowing that someone is praying for you, and I know this from personal experience, being out there, it's 2 a.m, horrible stuff's happening on patrol and this and that. Just knowing that you have a chaplain or a church body praying for you is just so extraordinary. And then being able to get your family involved and the fantastic use of technology. Again, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you had to find time to go see somebody, then you had to find somebody to go see. And like you said, cops tend to be very distrustful of mental health professionals, sometimes of chaplains, especially if they're associated with the department, because when we're talking about police mental health, there's a lot of cops that have been frankly abused by their agencies, by the mental health professionals that were supposed to be helping them. And then when you talk about families, like you're a business owner and a dad, that whole situation's a team effort, right? You and your wife. And it's the same thing in law enforcement, being a cop, whether it's the husband or the wife, sometimes it's both. And it's a real team effort to just keep it together. And
Right.
So bringing the families that's extraordinary foresight on your part.
Well, and we know that the spouses shoulder a huge burden. I can't tell you how many officers spouses I've spoken with that are very much looking forward to that retirement date, because of the burden that they shoulder, hoping and praying their loved one comes home that night. And so and also what they're enduring throughout that shift. So it's there's a heavy burden there. And in to what you're saying, when we really brainstormed on this, when we refined this platform, we don't require any credentials. So they can use an alias. They can use whatever they want. They can use a burner phone. We really don't care. But the beauty is that if they want to establish relationship with that chaplain, they talk to them, they trust them. They're like, hey, they can then direct text and direct call that chaplain again. They don't have to go through like a hub. So the whole intent is giving them the support, meeting them wherever they are, and giving them the support and whatever they need at that juncture. And the only safeguard we have is there's a pop-up that says stop, and that's basically to block the bots. That just says confirm here that you are a police officer and or family member of an officer. That's all. And they click through, and then it's directly into our portal to speak with the chaplain. So
how is it that you're getting the word out to cops about this?
well, that kind of leads into, obviously, through relationship, through other things. I was invited to be a guest speaker at both the Lake County and Cook County Chiefs of Police luncheon last year, and got in front of several hundred police administrators, which that's great. A lot of it's word of mouth, obviously social media. We're doing that, but I'm super excited about our grassroots movement, and that's really a huge need, which we call our Church Partners Program. So the program is designed to, it's a turnkey program that equips churches, local churches, to uplift their local police. And so yes, we don't want to just shoulder this and make this a brand, a unifying brand. Yes, we want to do that. That positive communicates a positive message. We love police. It's unifying, it's non-divisive, it's pretty universally appreciated. But we also want to make this a grassroots initiative and get people on the ground engaging with their local police. So unfortunately, we ran a pilot for about 2 years in Chicagoland with a handful of churches, and really refined the program, and now we're launching it nationwide. And the goal is to get local churches, which are in their own communities, and open up a dialogue, establish relationship with their local police administration, and get to know their local police officers and their families. And we have facets of that in ways to have tangible ways to uplift local officers and their families. And one of those is a commitment to pray for them. But our goal is in 2025 to add 1,000 churches across America, uplifting at least 1,000 police departments and sheriff's offices. And our 5-year goal is by 2030 that all 18,000 police departments and sheriff's offices are uplifted by at least one local church. So these are a group of, sometimes 50, sometimes churches could be 35,000. It just depends. And it's scaled from a small church to a huge church. But people in their own community uplifting their own officers, and it's a powerful tool. Already, the fruit that we've seen from the churches that have been engaged with this, it's really exciting.
Well, and that's the thing. Churches especially, and people in general, want to do something. I hear this all the time when I'm traveling around. What can we do as citizens to help law enforcement? And what you guys are doing is a very concrete way of supporting your local law enforcement, beyond just being nice to the cops and taking them some cookies and
Right.
things like that. This is a very concrete solution to that what can we do question.
Yeah. And we really wanted an all encompassing approach, a full 360 approach where, yes, our tagline, uplifting police, that's not just from our positive stories that we spotlight and helping certainly change the narrative in spotlighting their good, but uplifting police to elevate the public opinion standpoint, but uplifting them holistically, spiritually, giving them the support and resources they need. But on the grassroots side, as I said, engaging the local churches to express their gratitude from their church members and parishioners, and that has a huge lasting impact. But it all starts with relationship. It starts with that first phone call, and that's why we actually had one of our church partners, a pastor, called me up and said, I got to tell you, I'm kind of ashamed. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, we've been here this long and we never stepped foot in our local police department. We never knew our officers, and we had no idea what they had to deal with every day. And he just said, I'm thrilled we're part of this, but I'm really convicted that we didn't do something like this sooner. And so I'm really, really excited, and I know it's going to make a fantastic impact, especially when it spreads across the nation.
You make such a good point, because I think a lot of communities, especially if they have a smaller, suburban or rural police department or sheriff's department, and the cops do such a good job of keeping things safe, that people don't really know the bad things that a cop in a nice community might deal with. And I think that's one of the most important things about what you're doing, is because I think people around the country think, oh, those poor cops at NYPD, Chicago PD, LAPD, but those poor cops at the local sheriff's department where there's 10 deputies and they're dealing with all kinds of strife is really at issue too. I have to ask you, so how do you collect and push out those positive stories? Because I know that's one of the things that you do, is you want to let people know the good things that cops do, because we mostly do good stuff.
Oh, for
How do you
sure.
do that?
It takes some research, and I encourage police officers. And when I was at the Lake and Cook County Chiefs of Police lunch, and I encouraged them, I said, send us your stories. And that's one of the things that we really encourage officers, and we'll continue to start doing that, maybe as a monthly, to encourage departments that are following us on social media, on Facebook or others, to share with us, share their stories on We Love Police on Facebook. And but via email, I know this is no surprise to you, but the good stories are not the easiest in the world to find. And then finding them where they're verifiable, they're legitimate, and sometimes, frankly, some of it comes right from police department social media, where we're able to take it from their stories. But it does take some scouring and some research. But it would be fantastic if departments just started inundating us with their positive stories. So we would welcome that. So and they can directly email stories@welovepolice.org. That's one of our intakes for stories. So that's an access point. But
And citizens can do that as well, right?
oh,
Submit
absolutely,
their story.
absolutely. And if there's a great story, whether it's a local paper, or it's in no paper at all, or a news channel, a lot of them are nationally or locally news covered from a local news station. But really, the key is getting the word out on all of these positive stories, because they're endless. And we all know that the recycling bin that the standard media they love to sell bad news and make it sound like that's the norm, and we want to try to counter that as best we can. So the more stories people send us, the easier it is on us to promote the good.
You also have merchandise. I was looking at all your merchandise before the show. You got some really cool stuff. Talk about that.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a company actually in your neck of the woods that made in America products, which is we're very proud of. But yeah, the We Love Police merchandise. When we actually designed our logo and came up with our branding, with our tagline, "Uplifting Police and Spotlighting Their Good," we wanted something that was brought everyone together, that was universally agreeable. And so the logo, We Love Police, it's kind of cool. Actually, I don't know if you can see
Yeah,
that
I love it. It's
in the
perfect.
logo. But it's made in America. We have hoodies and T-shirts and hats and rear window transfer stickers and tumbler, dishwasher safe stickers and other stuff. But they can find it on our website, on the shop site, at welovepolice.org. And really, our intent was, if a police officer spouse or a police officer themselves pulled up to a civilian vehicle or any vehicle on the road and saw this, or was at a fill in the blank event, or at a hardware store, wherever it is, and they saw this message, this branding, "We Love Police," to put wind in their sails, to give them encouragement, to give them a pat on the back, to say, hey, we're not in this alone. Because the reality is that the vast majority, and I say vast, I think it is surpassed 80% of America truly loves and appreciates our police. Unfortunately, that narrative doesn't get out there. And really, yeah, so not only are people supporting our organization when they purchase our merchandise, but they're sending that message in their community and to those that oftentimes they don't even know who's seeing or looking. They're sending a message subliminally and overtly that police in America are truly loved, and that narrative can't be said enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, tell everybody again about the website and all of your social media, because you have a lot of it. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. So it's just welovepolice.org, very easy to find. And we are on Facebook, We Love Police, and Twitter/X. We're on Truth Social, and probably leaving one or two out of there, but that can give everyone a good idea where to find us. But obviously being a 501c3, we are relying on funds. No one from our organization takes one penny. 100% of our proceeds go to help police, provide greater chaplain access, and then obviously our church partners access. But a lot of those resources, when they come in, are going to help fund our police banquets, our regional police banquets. And those are pretty costly to put on, and we want to make them a home run event. So it's tax deductible contributions. So if people want to donate, they can donate right at the top of our site. But subscribe to our newsletter too. We have a newsletter as well that showcases spotlight stories of the week, and then also so people can sign up for the newsletter. But donate, shop, anything, but definitely keep visiting We Love Police, and like us on social media, Facebook, and send us your stories, share with us. And really, this is one of those grassroots thing where word of mouth, and same thing on social media. The more we want officers to know that this resource is out there. I mean, the chaplain access and everything else is only as good as people knowing about it. And so really that's our hope. Spread the word and share it with police officers across America and family members so they know that these resources are out there for them.
Yeah, I think, Dan, this is going to be absolutely huge. So I'm so grateful I got to talk to you, and I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. And if you'd like more information about the National Police Association, you can visit us at nationalpolice.org.
Every day, the brave men and women of law enforcement put their lives on the line to keep us safe. But they need our help to continue their mission. Activist politicians, progressive prosecutors, the ACLU, and the rest of the anti-police forces receive millions in donations from extremist pro-criminal elements like George Soros and woke corporations. The National Police Association is fighting them in courts around the country, including the United States Supreme Court, defending officers who are being attacked for doing their jobs. Additionally, the National Police Association works year-round to pass tough-on-crime legislation to put and keep criminals behind bars. Consider going to nationalpolice.org and donating to keep us in the fight. Together we can win. That is nationalpolice.org.